What?
And, you know...
Comes higher, and you'll sit there and yourself looking mighty fine.
Welcome to this week's Top 5, brought to you by the Nerd Cave Network. I am one of your hosts, Derek Diamond, joined along with, as always,
Zach Dykes.
And Robbie Rolls.
I'm really excited about this week's Top 5. We are going to list off our top 5 wrestlers. They can be from WWE, WCW, ECW, any era, any promotion. So, Zach, why don't you start us off with your number 5?
My number 5 is a legend that's been stripped recently. He pretty much carried the WWE for years on his back. The good guy told you to eat your vegetables and your vitamins or whatever else. He's everybody's brother, Hulk Hogan.
Brother.
I am a real American. Good choice.
You got to be careful. We got copyright one time for that.
He's the Babe Ruth of wrestling.
Yeah. Babe Ruth was a bastard himself.
That's not inaccurate.
So, Hulk Hogan, wrestling would not be what it is right now without Hulk Hogan.
Oh, absolutely.
And when he went WCW and became Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and after a while with the NWO, he was a jerk, and all of these things.
He reinvented himself.
He reinvented himself after being Hulkamania for 20 years almost, and him doing that, it made wrestling jump another notch. So he carried it, and then he just pressed it up. It's like, boom, I'm Hulk Hogan, brother.
Brother. Mine started out as a joke.
It's still a joke.
But it kind of just became its own thing. But my phone even corrected it to the Great Khaki. So the Great Khali is...
Crease of Doom!
But the Great Khali, like I said, started out as a joke because I remember him coming out and everybody hating him. And I was like,
because he's terrible.
Because Robbie always does that. Thor, the Titans, the Wizards.
Thor, Titans, and Wizards, I've liked
because they're horrible.
No.
If the Great Khaki were a high flyer, would his finisher be the pleated plunge?
It could be. But, just kind of, I was like, all right, yeah, I could deal with it. He could be one of my favorites. Why not? Just to troll you, friends, once again.
Yeah, I can see that.
My number 5, I will admit, is somewhat for selfish reasons because we have similar names, but it's Diamond Dallas Page.
Nice.
Who had the name People's Champion, that's right, before The Rock, I might add. He, got into wrestling late. He didn't start wrestling until he was in his late 30s.
He drove his Cadillac.
At WrestleMania 6, he drove the Honky Tonk Man to the ring. Hot pink Cadillac, and I was like, holy crap, that is Diamond Dallas Page.
Yep.
But just following his career, he started as a nightclub owner. He was a wrestling manager, and he was bigger than any of the guys he managed.
Yeah.
He was an announcer, and then he got into wrestling. He was 42 years old when he won his first world championship.
Wow.
And now he's reinvented himself as a fitness guru with his DDP yoga program. So he was just always really entertaining, loved his finisher, the diamond cutter, because you didn't know when it was going to happen because he could hit it out of nowhere. Yeah. So I always cheered for him, and because of the name Diamond, too, that helped a little bit. So he's my number 5.
Nice one. And a self-made man. Self-made man. Just like my number 4, Rey Mysterio.
Oh, Rey Mysterio is awesome.
He's also my mom's. That's her favorite wrestler.
Really?
But watching him in WCW, just the high-flying acrobatics that he did, his masks were always so interesting. That was so cool, and how his pants always went with it. He was just... Because WCW, that was one really awesome thing that they did, that NWO, not NWO, but WWE, or WWF at that point, kind of had to learn was the lucha libre style, is how to promote them, how to get that in there. And WCW did a really good job with him and Eddie Guerrero, rest in peace. But there were so many good lucha wrestlers.
As soon as the lucha libre wrestlers came out, you sat in front of the TV because it was going to be high flying,
Oh, yeah.
nonstop. I remember he wrestled I want to say this name's correct, but he wrestled another Mexican wrestler named Blitzkrieg. Had never heard of this guy before, and they had like a 20-minute nonstop match. They were like
knocker.
Yeah, they were exactly. They were diving over the top rope onto each other, and it was fun.
Best moment when he fought Kevin Nash.
And he beat him.
That
place went nuts.
That was just so amazing.
Something cool he did in WWE that kind of fits into what we do is every WrestleMania he would dress up like a superhero. Like one year he had the Flash costume.
Cool.
He did Daredevil one year. I want to say he did Daredevil in 2003, which that would have been right because that was when the movie came out.
Oh, well.
He's done Spider-Man, I believe. He's done so many others. Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
He's just always a really interesting wrestler. So I know he's wrestling over in England now.
Yeah, I believe he just joined. Oh yeah, he did the Joker
and Captain
one year.
America.
Captain America, the Flash. Not sure who that is. Not sure who that
The
is.
giant headdress was part of like his Mexican heritage. That's the match when he won the world title.
Nice. So that's my number 4. What is yours, Robbie?
Can you smell what the Rock's cooking?
Ah, The Rock.
Just because, even after his wrestling career and all that, and when he got inducted into their Hall of Fame, and the quote, the little chant, Pebble, Pebble.
Funny fact, I was there.
Really?
It was in Orlando.
That's right.
That was when he inducted his dad and his grandfather, who were both wrestlers,
Yeah.
into the Hall of Fame. And I remember he came out and people were going nuts, and he was talking, just like a normal person. And he's like, "Oh wait, this doesn't feel right." So he reached under the podium, grabbed a wireless microphone, and went, "Finally!" and did his whole
Yeah.
thing, and we all went nuts. It was so great.
But
And then his mom did the
came
pebble
out,
chant,
did the
and
pebble thing.
it was so
Everyone was
funny.
like, Pebble. He's like, no. So, like I said, his wrestling career and then his acting career. I mean,
He's one of the biggest stars in the world.
He lives his life a quarter mile at a time. And technically, he is one of the bigger stars in the world.
but yeah, like he's
The
definitely
size of a Greyhound buzz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he comes in at number 4 for me.
Nice.
My number 4, much to the disagreement of Robbie, is the dead man himself, The Undertaker.
Dead man walking.
Since he walked in as The Undertaker in November of 1990, he has always been a top name player, and he hasn't always been in the main event, but he's always been relevant.
Yeah.
That whenever he's on the show, you want to know what he's doing. And up until they broke it, which was, looking back at it now, a really stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
up until they broke his undefeated streak, his match was more important than the championship. It's always who is going to try to break the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania.
Well, and the thing comes down to it, there was nothing relevant that came out of breaking the streak because Brock Lesnar is not, he's strong and everything, but there's no momentum that he gained from that, really.
For a while, it did. Like, he went on a pretty big run, like he just destroyed John Cena and won the title and had it for like 7 or 8 months, but that's something that you have taken away from your biggest show because now he fought Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 31 and it didn't mean anything.
I don't even know who that cat is.
He's kind of like the more modern Undertaker. He has that's the
guy with the
big
lanterns.
beard and the hat, and the lanterns.
Okay.
Now, he was not my favorite wrestler, but I did respect him because he was one of the greats. Like
you don't respect him.
I do.
No, you don't.
And
I can respect
can't-
someone and not like them.
But I can't believe he hasn't retired yet.
Yeah. So
That's my number 4.
I Undertaker, he didn't make my list, but I love him. He's awesome. So, especially his match against Mick Foley.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's such a good one.
Anyone who says, "Oh well, wrestlers don't get hurt," I show them highlights from that, and I'm like, "Yeah."
Anything with
that's a
Mick Foley.
lie. Any Mick Foley match.
My number 3 is a man that was unstoppable back in the day. Didn't say a word. Had to be escorted by police because he was just so fearsome. From Georgia, Goldberg.
Goldberg.
Just, there were so many good wrestlers in the WCW back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and Goldberg was one of the best. He was top of the game, and it would take a full ring of people to take him down. The whole NWO had to gang up on him to take him down. And the Athens Arena, that match, just where he was back in his hometown, and people just went total ape over it.
When they had Nitro in the Georgia Dome, which
Yeah.
is a football stadium, and they sold it out because he won the world title. And
Yeah.
I remember, like, you can still watch this on the network, but when he picks Hogan up to put him in the jackhammer, people start throwing stuff because they are so happy as to what's about to happen. It's unbelievable.
And just his power, his physique and everything. He even had a freaking monster truck named after him for a while, and then it became Maximum Destruction. But just amazing.
He came from football. He was a defensive lineman who I think are some of the best athletes in the entire
definitely.
world.
God, I would hate to be hit by him.
Oh my
the
God.
Spear. God, just amazing.
Takes me into his role in the
Longest Yard?
The Longest Yard.
Yeah.
The hilarious part, because they're always talking about his manhood. He's like, or you could hit him over the head.
Most BA Jew of all time.
Yeah. Protect your chicken nuggets. What's your number 3?
Rey Mysterio. Like for the things you said, the acrobatics that he did, those spinning, like grab you around the neck with his legs and throwing you. I was just mesmerized by him as a kid, just watching him. Like, this is the coolest guy that I have ever seen in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
How he's just so small, but he's just so fast.
Mm-hmm.
He makes fast people look not fast.
Descriptors all over
like
that
it.
one.
That's a quote from The Longest Yard.
I like it. My number 3 is the first wrestler that I ever remember seeing on TV. The NWO was wreaking havoc in the ring, and this guy in a black trench coat and black hair, white face paint, came down from the rafters, and he took all of them out with a baseball bat, and that would be Sting.
Yep.
Sting was the first wrestler I ever liked, loved him in WCW, and when they closed, I waited and waited and waited for him to come to
last year.
WWE until when it was Survivor Series 2014, and Triple H's team was about to win a match, and you hear this weird music, and then you hear the crow caw, and I'm like, oh my God. And I remember I texted you a screenshot of when Sting walked out, and I'm just like, OMG, OMG, OMG. So he's had 2 matches, and he probably will never wrestle again because he got hurt against Seth Rollins. He messed up his neck really bad. But he is getting put in the Hall of Fame this year, and I really want to go.
He deserves it.
It's in Texas. I may go. I really want to go because he was the first wrestler I ever grew up watching, and I mean it was a big deal to me as a kid. I mean, it still is to an extent, but it was kind of that show that I would escape from, escape reality from.
It's definitely not what it used to be.
No, it's not.
Because
It's awful now.
I've tuned in here and there, and
It's
I'm
bad.
just like,
It's bad.
Yeah,
but
I agree. My number 2 is Sting as well. Just without him in the WCW, it would have been totally different. He was that character where nothing was going to affect him. He was this stoic type deal, and coming from the rafters, that was so awesome. Stinger splash. What was the leg lock? I can't remember.
Scorpion Deathlock.
Yeah, just all of those things. And his matches against Ric Flair were really, really good.
Oh, yeah, back in the late 80s, early 90s?
Yeah.
That was back when he had the blonde flat
Yeah.
top and the multicolored face paint, when he was like really energetic. And
Yeah.
he was always yelling to the crowd, and people loved him.
Oh yeah.
He almost reminds me of the Warrior, the Ultimate Warrior. in
Funny
that way.
fact, when they broke into wrestling, they were a tag team.
Really?
Called
I
the
could-
Blade Runners.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. They had a lot of the same physique.
And then they both kind of went their own way, but they're one of the few tag teams where both members actually became successful. Because, I mean, Warrior was on top for only like a couple of years, but he still made his mark.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing with Sting.
But he lasted a lot longer.
He did.
And just Sting, one of the saddest days is when he went to the Wolfpack. He looked awesome though.
Love the red face paint.
The red face paint looked cool. And the red
I like the
scorpion.
wolf
Yeah.
pack.
So that was an interesting dynamic, the NWO and the
Yeah.
Wolfpack.
Robbie, your number dose.
Stone Cold.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I mean, if you think of
Drink more beer.
What?
there wasn't
More-
a more manly man than Stone Cold, because for his
What?
the
What?
all the shaking up of the alcohol and
What?
Oh yeah, he cracks the beer cans together, and maybe an ounce of it actually goes. The rest of it just goes everywhere, and people are going crazy.
oh yeah,
What?
What?
and
See, that's why you don't put him as one of yours. Because you're going to get the what?
the what? But anyway,
What? I'll stop.
it's just he was so entertaining to watch, because what you said about him being huge, so hard to take down, and as an offensive lineman, I would be so.
That's Goldberg.
Yeah, Goldberg.
Wrong person.
Yeah,
I don't know why I just
I don't know either.
I got that mixed up. But anyway,
What? That's what it should have said. What? His tenacity in the ring was
yes, he was
extreme.
very
ferocious.
underrated wrestler in
Yeah.
the ring. I mean, people loved his promos, his merchandise, and everything. But whenever he was in the ring, he was good.
Oh yeah, he knew how to work it extremely. King of the Ring originally.
When
was-
Austin 316 was born.
Yep. So he's an amazing wrestler by far.
And he has a pretty good podcast too.
Yeah, I've actually
This video is just going to be called
testing
What?
the lines of friendship.
Bringing Robbie to a standstill with one word.
I've been intrigued. I'm trying to get into other podcasts that I would not normally listen to. So I've thought about giving his
Listen to
try.
the Unleashed one.
what?
In the Unleashed one, he cusses a lot,
Oh, okay.
but it's funny. Like he
Yeah.
does it in a funny way.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So my number 2 is the most electrifying
Fine
man in sports entertainment and all of entertainment, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
You know, he can power a city with his electricity.
Oh, he can.
Yeah, that's how electrifying he is.
His biceps are bigger than said cities.
Yes, they are.
I remember when he debuted as Rocky Maivia, and everyone hated him.
Yep.
They would chant, "Rocky sucks, Rocky sucks." He joined the Nation of Domination, became a bad guy, changed his name to The Rock, started using all the, first person or third person, whichever one you call it. The Rock says this, The Rock says that.
The Brahma Bull.
Slowly developed his catchphrases, and eventually he just became too popular to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
And even when he was a bad guy, people would still be entertained by him, because when he left to do movies and came back as a bad guy, that was honestly my favorite run that he ever did.
it's always so funny whenever someone is so popular and so beloved that even if they're a bad guy, they still get that same amount of love and all that stuff. I've just thought it was interesting.
Like now, Ric Flair's daughter is a wrestler, and Flair's
Really?
like her manager. And they're supposed to be bad guys, but people cheer him because he's Ric Flair.
yeah.
Her name's Charlotte. Her wrestling name's Charlotte.
Oh.
There we go.
She got started late. She's in her 30s. Yeah, that's her.
Interesting.
But anyway,
Looks like
Kick
him.
my butt.
The Rock was so fun to watch. Like, his promos are I'm not gonna knock like Ric Flair or Dusty Rhodes, but The Rock is the best talker ever in wrestling.
Yeah, I would have to give that up to him over.
All his catchphrases are so iconic. I can memorize them. I can say them from memory.
What?
That's what?
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 Anyway, that's my number 2.
All right.
I would put my number 1 at the number 2 spot for promos.
He's up there.
That he would be my number 2 under The Rock. And my number 1 has been well documented. Well documented. If you,
I don't think it's been enough.
it needs to be documented even more. If you've ever watched any of our WWE Let's Plays, almost every live show we talk about our favorite wrestlers.
Yeah.
Somehow or another.
Somehow it always
Somebody
comes
always
up.
brings it up.
Macho Man, Randy Savage. Ooh, yeah. Just amazing. Oh, does not get the credit that he deserves as a pioneer of this organization. And I really don't like Vince McMahon for what he did to him and just kept him
Still
out
don't
of-
know what happened.
I don't know either. But Macho Man, amazing. Just amazing. Work ethic, attitude, everything. And what's funny is, like, he really didn't like watching the documentary that they put out, because there's 2 different documentaries. There's the one that like has a ton of his matches, which I watched the mess out of that one. That's one of my favorites by far. But the one that kind of examined his life and how he made up this persona to kind of get over his like nervousness and all of that. And he was just so amazing in the ring, and he was a high flyer, but it was in a different way. He was more brutal and all of that, and he was one of the first ones that would take it out of the ring. And just his matches with Steamboat, not Steamboat, Steamboat.
Ricky Steamboat.
Yeah, Ricky Steamboat, and the Dragon, just kind of put him on the map. And then when they had the Hulk Hogan Macho Man team up,
The Mega Powers.
the Mega Powers, just amazing. And him and Miss Elizabeth, you couldn't ask for anything better than that.
Both had tragic endings, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
May they both rest in peace.
But just his flamboyance, his entrances to the ring, pomp and circumstances was his freaking theme song.
But it worked.
It worked, and he worked it. The capes, I wish I could have one. If you want to send me a cape, let me know in the comments below. But just an amazing guy, and I just can't explain all of it. But if you've never seen this man wrestle, you need to watch that. You need to watch some of his promos. And if you ever eat a Slim Jim, you need to snap it.
I'm about to say, snap into that big
Snap
one.
into a Slim Jim.
Oh yeah. What's your number 1?
My number 1 is Sting, because growing up, that's who, I watched, and I even,
What?
I don't know if there's pictures. I don't know if they got messed up when I even came and put a tree in my house. But anyway, one Halloween, I went dressed as Sting. I had, the black trench coat, all black. I had the face paint. But I could not find my bat. So I had to borrow my cousin, and she was a baby, so she had those little red Fisher-Price bats. So, like, everything else was like, I looked BA. But then I had that stupid little Fisher-Price bat. But, I mean, who could not like Sting? I mean, from his entrances to the way he looked to the way he wrestled was an art.
Mm-hmm.
So,
He was never boring.
no, not at all.
My number 1 has already been mentioned, but he is he's the toughest SOB.
What?
What? In the history of professional wrestling, and that would be Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Who? What?
What? When? Where? Why?
Master of Disguise.
Yeah, I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up.
I've been waiting for a while to bring that in somehow.
Anyway, I started watching wrestling. I started watching WCW, and a few months into it, a friend of mine said, "You need to watch WWF, and you need to watch this guy named Stone Cold Steve Austin." Once we started watching that, we were in front of the TV every Monday night. Sometimes it would be other family members. It would be me, my parents, my aunt and uncle, cousins, would all get up on Mondays and we would watch Raw just to see what would happen between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon, which is, to me, the greatest wrestling feud of all time,
Yeah.
because everyday people can relate to it, because he got to do what everyone, I'm sure, has wanted to do at some point.
To their
and that's-
boss.
And that's give your boss the middle finger and drop them with a stunner.
Who wouldn't?
And just the whole beer thing, his promos, he stood for the everyday person.
Yeah.
And
He was the man's man.
yeah, and he started as, a kid who grew up in a small town in Texas.
Just a small town boy.
Something like that. And just, and I've gotten to read more about his career. I've read his book, I listened to his podcast, and he's talked about growing up in Texas, playing college football, and all this fun stuff. So, he doesn't come back very often, just because, to be honest, WWE is so different now
Yeah.
that it wouldn't be Stone Cold.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a watered down. We're on the same wavelength there. But no, anytime Stone Cold is on TV, I will stop flipping channels and I will watch what he is doing. So he's my number one,
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah. So.
Good list.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Any honorables?
The limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun, nature boy Ric Flair is
Oh, yeah. Ric Flair is up there.
top 3 promo cutter, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's a good one, too.
The Hall of Fame I was at was the one where he got inducted. He talked for almost 3 hours.
Dang.
It was.
Dang.
We were at that arena for a long time.
I can imagine.
But I mean, it's Ric Flair. You're not going to cut him off.
No, you're not. You get stabbed in the back.
Exactly.
Drive off in a station wagon with Roddy Piper.
Roddy Piper's up there. I was never a huge Hogan fan, but I respect his accomplishments and what he did. Let's see. Scott Hall is up there. Trying to think of newer people.
Sheamus.
John Cena. And his name is John Cena. You guys go ahead. I'll have to think of some.
The Rock, since he didn't make my list. DDP as well. Stone Cold. Lex Luger.
I remember Lex Luger, yep.
Kevin Nash. I always liked him for some reason.
Kevin Nash, yeah.
As
he's
Kevin
good.
Nash, not Diesel. I didn't watch him when he was over at WWE.
Yeah.
Big Papa Pump.
Scott Steiner.
God, that guy was on roids. Out
Freakzilla.
Yeah. Just for giggles, Disco Inferno.
Disco Fever. Disco Fever. I'm trying to think of really well, go ahead. I'm trying to
Okay.
think of outlandish wrestlers.
I liked Ric Flair. I liked Brock Lesnar.
Lesnar is such a beast.
He is. But for this last one, I have to move the microphone away and do something before I say his name.
Batista.
The Animal, Dave Batista. I had no problem with Batista. And from what I've heard, he's a super nice guy.
Like, ever since
Doing
that,
down. Oh, he's up there too.
Gold
You will
Dust.
never forget the name of Gold Dust. One of the pioneers of the Attitude Era.
that is true.
Oh, I know my outlandish wrestlers.
Who is it?
The Bushwhackers. There was one Royal Rumble where one of the Bushwhackers came out. He walked down the aisle, did the dance, got in the ring, immediately gets knocked out, turns around and does back up the aisle. It was awesome.
There's definitely a lot of weird wrestlers
Yeah.
out there, but
Yeah. There's just so many. And there are a few current ones I like. Like, I like Dean Ambrose. Brock Lesnar. He's probably my favorite of, like, the current era. Oh, I feel like an idiot. Chris Jericho,
Oh God, yes, Chris Jericho's got
the man of 1,004 holds, the Ayatollah of rock and rolla, the sexy beast.
Triple H.
No,
You know who the best wrestler out of all three of us are? Me. I've won more belts than all of y'all put
Because
together.
you've played more.
I beat y'all every time, but I can't win a
I
match on
mean-
my own.
I mean I'm winless, so I can't really say anything.
I've won one.
Well, there you
Yeah.
go.
But it's because y'all double team me and you get Derek as your last one, and you're like, because I'm.
Yeah,
Robbie thinks he's like goat over here.
he's the
No.
goat, but he's not the GOAT.
No, he's a Billy goat.
Oh, Billy.
So, guys, if you have a suggestion for a top 5, you can put it in the comments below, or you can find us on Facebook.com/group/Nerd Cave Network and put your comments there. Join us there because we have a lot of awesome conversations and like to hear all your ideas about how we can improve the shows or just have a conversation because, hey, we're nerds too and we like you.
For reals.
Yeah. So, we have awesome content that comes out where, Robbie? Where's that content? Where are the melons?
We have content that comes out. We're all over social medias. We post that all over there, but we have our YouTube network, Nerd Cave Network on YouTube. We have a website, all that good stuff.
Yeah, we have awesome podcasts. Tell them about that, Derek. We have.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to whisper. We have every Tuesday we have the Nerd Cave podcast with us. Every Thursday is my interview show, The Derek Diamond Experience, and every Saturday we have our friends over at the Pop Culture Palette, and also fresh out of the ashes, like a phoenix from the ashes. The last Friday of every month we have Time for Comics.
Yeah. So, guys,
And don't forget about our friends over at Pop Culture Palette. They have this awesome Kickstarter, Monsters Anonymous. So be sure to go check that out and help support that.
yeah, and if the Kickstarter's done, then
No, I don't know
missed
when,
out.
when it's done, but
yeah. So, guys, thanks for watching. This has been Zach.
Derek?
and Robbie.
Oh, yeah. Have a week.